Looking for clarity and confidence when it comes to decision making for your business? You've come to the right place. You're now listening to the Atomic Business Coaching Podcast.
All right, Adam. Welcome. What's going on, man?
You're welcoming me to my podcast? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Amazing. Welcome to this episode with Adam.
I didn't know I was a guest today, but I'll take that role. Appreciate it, my friend.
Be a guest in your own home, right? I have no idea why I said that. It was just like, oh man, okay. All righty. That's funny.
Listen, we had an interesting week last week with a lot of, we went out to a lot of groups, and today we could talk about, some of the experiences we've had with people that have been really, really cool and eye-opening. And me, I don't listen to podcasts. So that's why ours is in video. If you watch on Spotify, you can watch. You don't just have to listen to this podcast, also on YouTube. But I like to watch a lot of podcasts, and I heard one with Hormozi talking about what business are you in, and it really hit me hard and allowed me to think, what business is Adam in? What business is Atomic in? What business is Tom in? What business are all these people I met in? And it really brought me down this rabbit hole. And the cool thing about the kind of mindset that Hormozi was talking about was, like, most people think they're in one business. Like, if you're selling ice cream cones, you think you're in the ice cream cone selling business. But you might not actually be in that business. You might be in the real estate business, right? Because you have to have the right location for that ice cream shop. And yeah, you might sell ice cream cones, but your main business is finding the right locations everywhere you go. Right. I just made that example up. But he had another one, which was this guy who was they were cleaning. They owned Airbnbs. Mm-hmm. And this guy was in the Airbnb business, right? The short-term rental business. And he started building it out, and this gentleman realized, like, he was paying these exorbitant fees to Airbnb for cleaning. And he's like, you know what? This is silly. Why don't I just get some people to clean my own place, and then I don't have to have them do it, but I'll do it. And I had to live up to certain standards of Airbnb. And he learned all this stuff and got the cleaning and everything else, and it worked. And I forget how many. Let's say he had 10 Airbnbs, and he saved all this money. And he realized, like, holy cow, there's probably other Airbnb owners that have the same problem. Let me go offer it to them. And he knew a network of people, and all of a sudden he was cleaning other people's Airbnbs. So he's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not in the Airbnb business. I'm in the cleaning business.
Right.
And Hormozi's like, no, you're actually not in the cleaning business either. And he's like, why? And he's like, all right, so how hard is it for you to get these people to agree to doing cleaning? What's your CAC, your client acquisition cost? And he's like, $6, which is like super low. He's like, okay, so that's not a problem at all. So you can get other Airbnb owners to hire you in an instant. He's like, yeah. Okay. He's like, so that's very, very easy. But from our conversation, obviously I had a deeper conversation with the guy, but he's like, from our conversation, what's the hardest part that you've had? What did you say before? And he's like, yeah, I can't find people that want to, like, clean houses, show up on time, are reliable, do a good job at the pay that I'm willing to pay them. I just lose people all the time. And he's like, well, that's what I'm telling you. You're not in the cleaning business. You're in the recruitment business.
That's really crazy. But that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So this guy didn't have to worry about, will people want to hire him for cleaning? That's like a given almost.
No, that's easy. That's the easy part.
But he needed to make sure he had a constant stream of people coming in that could clean, that are reliable, that will show up on time, and accepted lower dollar amount, lower wage to do these things.
Right.
So the business he was in, the problem he had to solve was making sure he had enough staff, not cleaning people's houses.
Right.
And not even having Airbnbs. So this allowed me to start thinking, like, what business am I in? What business is Atomic in? What business are all these people we met? Because we've done a lot of networking recently that we've facilitated. We've been hosting 4 networking meetings a month, and we've met amazing people. And I knew what all of them did. And they, of course, Tom, they told us what problems they had. Like, I don't have enough clients. I don't have enough this, or I don't understand my systems. And that was interesting. But then as I looked back and I reflected on it, I started thinking about, what business are these people actually in? Like, what is the problem they really have to solve to have the business? So have you ever thought about it this way?
No, I've never thought about it this way. And I'm struggling a little bit to really think about, what is the real business that you and I are in? I mean, there's so many different ways we could approach it. Like, are we in the client acquisition business, right? Because we're always trying to get more clients and generate leads and all of that. So is that our business? Are we Are we really in the coaching business? Are we in the consulting business? Are we advisors? Are we like, I don't know what like we do so many different things. And I think a lot of things, it like he needed to make sure he had staff, right? So he had to constantly recruit people so that he always had the staff.
Right.
So what is it that you have to do to be able to do the thing that you do? Is that the business that you're in, right?
Yeah, that's actually exactly right. Good pickup there. The thing is you have to figure out what business you're in so you could do the business that you do.
Right.
Right. So in order for this gentleman to have the ability to clean people's houses, he needed to have staff, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you can look at us. In order for us, where the majority of our clients have come, either they've just showed up and said, I want to hire you, or the other ones, we met them through networking and we built a relationship. And over time, they ended up saying, wow, I really like what you guys are doing. Can I talk to you in detail about, could you do that for me? But for you and I, that's usually like a 6-month-long process. We meet somebody with no intentions of coaching them. We spot something and we have a conversation with them, or they spot something and they have a conversation with us. And then maybe we go out to a lunch, or maybe they come to another networking, or we pick up a phone, or we jump on a Zoom. And then the relationship deepens, and and then it almost organically happens where when we get to the point of client acquisition, they're acquiring us. We're not acquiring them.
Right.
Like they're already sold. We don't really have to sell. They're like, wow, what you guys do is exactly what I need. And so I think if I look at it right now, me and you are more in the networking business.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Because we are building all these relationships. It's a very long game, but we're always, and we love and we connect people no matter what. Yep. I mean, that is, it is a networking business that we're in.
Well, even think about that. You're saying we connect people, right? So now we're connecting them to other resources, but then we're also connecting them to what they are themselves, what they're trying to understand. We connect them, like we say this, I've said it, I don't know if you have.
Right.
They're like, a lot of times what I do for our clients is I'm just a translator. They tell me what they're saying and I translate it back to them so they understand what they said and what they actually meant. And they're like, oh yeah, that is what I meant.
Yep, exactly.
But that's connecting them to their own subconscious almost,
Right.
It's like,
well, it's
are we in the connection business?
Yeah, I think, when you think about it, I mean, we're connecting them to their lives, to their families, to their businesses, to the people around them. We're connecting them to other people that can enhance their business or life. Is it the connection business that way? Like it's really, that's where
it goes. In order to be in the connection business, do we need to be in the networking business? It's like the cleaning company. In order to have a cleaning company, do you need to have staff?
Right. And we need to network in order to build connections so that we could be in the connections business.
Funny.
Yeah, that's really crazy when I think about it.
I wonder what people are, like whoever's listening to us, or clients of ours.
Yeah, they're like, we're losing our minds, guys.
No, but I mean, I wonder what they think about that. Like, look, the goal of the podcast is provoke thought, right? It's really, that's one of the main things we do. Share experiences, provoke thought, and have that be useful in your growth and personal and business, right?
Right.
So I wonder, like, a lot of the people that listen to us, they've started their own business, and they typically started their own business because they were really good doing that job for somebody else.
Correct.
The majority of our clients are those people.
Yep.
No one really invented someone. No one, not really like they went and got a degree and came right out and started a law practice or something. They usually worked for somebody.
Right.
So I would think that most of them think they're in the business of what they produce and what they deliver. But they wouldn't really think of like, well, what does it take to deliver that? And I wonder how much of that, because much of our work is helping people become the CEO of their life and business.
Right.
And I think in order to understand how to be a CEO, you have to understand the real business you're in that allows you to do the thing that you're selling.
Right.
So I wonder how many people who are listening to this right now, or, our clients of ours, think they're in the wrong business. What do you?
Yeah. I mean, I would start to think that I was in the wrong business if I just thought of myself as a coach and didn't think of myself as the connector or the networker, right? And I think a lot of people out there, I think that's what causes a lot of people to struggle, especially when they're trying to find who they connect to, right? And who they're selling their product for, if they even have a product that people need. Like, there's so many pieces of what they have developed and what they have built because they thought they were in this business. but now they have to really think about, well, who are they really serving? And is that really the business that they're in? Right? Like you could be in, like, I'm just thinking about, like, you're in the ambulette business and you're driving people around to doctor's appointments, but you're really in the service business of serving these people that are getting on your vehicle, and you need to, and there's so many ways. I'm just thinking about, like, all these random things, like even like as a healthcare provider, what business was I really in? I was a physician assistant. I was in the healthcare industry, but what was my business? My business was healing people, or was it, prescribing medication? What business was it? I don't know. I think it's a lot of different things that would formulate people to think very differently about what they're doing on a daily basis. And this is where a lot of business owners, I think, come into conflict with what they're doing.
Yeah, well, maybe not even conflict. Maybe they get confused about, they're so good at the thing that they think they're doing, and they're not getting the results that they expected to get.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because maybe they're, I don't know, I don't want to use any of our exact clients, but maybe they're in healthcare, right? And they're like, we see patients and we provide them this service.
Right.
But maybe their business really is, they are an advocate to doctors out there that refer them or something. It's like,
right.
And then they're like, how come I can't serve more patients? I'm such a good doctor. I do such good work. I take care of them, but no one's coming in my door because maybe like us, they weren't building relationships with enough doctors that would know who they are and how great they are. And it's like, how many businesses are doing that? I would, now that I'm really thinking this out loud, all right? That's a lot what our podcast is, folks, is Tom and I thinking out loud.
Out loud. Yeah.
We should create a podcast, Thinking Out Loud.
Like, Thinking Out Loud, brought to you by the Adam and Tom Show. But seriously, like, when you think about it, like, you just hit a good point, right? A lot of times people don't know what people do, and they don't understand what people do. And in order for them to understand, they have to educate people on what needs to be done or what they do, right? If you've never reached out to a coach before, you don't know what a coach does. So sometimes we're in the education business, right? When I started out as a life coach, one of the reasons I wrote my first book was to discuss the process of what coaching is like, and it's all about making the changes, but I had to explain it. So at that point, I was an educator of what the coaching experience should be like. So was I in the education business for a little bit? And yeah, maybe I was. But yeah, it's very interesting. Like it's totally a little loop.
But it makes me think now, as business coaches, like how much emphasis do you and I need to put on this when we're working with our clients to really understand the business that they're in?
Yeah,
we do our Project 2740, and that's for, and I'm going to use a new phrase here. It's more for start over businesses, right? And what a start over business is someone that you've done this for a while, but maybe not as successfully as you thought. You need to start everything over. And we've had a lot of people come to us who are side hustlers, and we've had some brand new businesses come to us. But what we've recognized is most of the people are starting over. And it's like, I've done this for maybe a decade, but not to the level of success I thought I could. But they're not at the level where they need one-on-one coaching because it's more foundational. And as I look across those people, the business that we're in with them, it's really helping them to understand their potential, right? It's like, understand their potential and then a pathway to it. And then showing them like what the potential could be, not only for their business, then also for the product or service that they're doing. And then for themselves as the leaders and the human beings that get to benefit financially from all that stuff. So in that business, what are we really in? We're in, the ability to show somebody what their potential is. I don't know what you would call that. I don't even know how you would classify that, but it's like, it's not education, it's not exploration. It's really like just being able, I don't know what it is, but that's what we're doing for those people. And then how much, Tom, when we bring those people in, do we need to do that for them? Like help them understand what business they're in?
Yeah. I mean, listen, we're onion peelers. That's what we are. We're onion peelers. We're peeling back that onion to discover the purpose. We're trying to get to that deeper layer and really understand who you are. And like, I always talk about, you got to peel back the onion. But, like, you're making me think about a lot of people that are in these start over businesses is because when they first went into business, they thought they were doing one thing, and now they have to really think about what really is their business, right? Like I used to have a client years ago that was in the real estate business, but he was a real estate agent and a real estate broker. And he would get listings and do the selling and the buying and be those people. But he got into flipping houses, and he was resistant to creating the business as a flipping real estate investor instead of being a real estate agent, right? So he was trying to keep himself within a box. And I think that's one of the things that is coming out of this for me, is that we may be in one industry or doing business a certain way and being one type of business, but we can't restrict ourselves to just think that we're only in that business. Like we really have to understand what business we're truly in.
Well, that brings up a further point, right? Now we're peeling the onion on this whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That brings up another point, is like, there's an evolution of it. So maybe you're in one business for the first year, and then the second year you're in a second business, the third year, so as your business evolves,
right,
you may actually matriculate through, now I'm in the next level, but that's a completely different thing. I mean, if you're a solo practitioner and you build this business, you may be in client acquisition, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
And then after that, you may be in the training business, right? You may have to like train staff to do these things. And then after that, you're in the recruitment business to bring in better staff to do that. And then after that, maybe you're in the management business, and you got to have to learn how to manage people and all these things. And then you may be in, who knows? And it could just, I think, go on and on and on. I like what you said is about in that box is sometimes, especially for these start over businesses, many of them are married to the idea of what they started, but it's not the thing that's going to propel them to where they want to go.
Right. They have to be willing to let go. They have to be willing to let go. And I think that's the bigger thing, was if you're always asking yourself what business you're in, you will be paying attention to your evolution. You will understand that something needs to change. It'll create more flexibility in your mind and create more of a growth mindset for you, that you constantly are evolving to whatever is next. And what you start in is as one thing, think about it. Netflix went through this evolution, right? They were in the business of sending videos via mail when they first started. And they were like Blockbuster Online, like you went in and you got these things in the mail, but then they went into the digital video business and then went further into some kind, and they were always a subscription business, but they were enhancing the type of business they were actually in. And they wound up being digital video deliveries systems, or whatever you want to call it. And now it's a whole streaming platform and a whole, it evolved from those things, but that's where Blockbuster fell off. That's where even like Kodak and film, Kodak was resistant to going into the digital camera business and the digital photography business. And that's what caused their business to fail, because they were so stuck that film was the right way to do photography. And so they had to evolve. So is it really more just the evolution by constantly asking, what business are we really in?
Well, go back to the beginning of the podcast, right? And when we were talking about that guy, he had to start in the Airbnb business. If he didn't do that, he could have never got into the cleaning business. And if he didn't do the cleaning business, he never could have got into the recruitment business.
Correct.
Right. So I think the lesson really here is you have to evolve and constantly assess, okay, what business am I in now?
What are we doing? Because, and that is part, I think, if you constantly ask yourself that question, that is going to determine how long you survive in the market of whatever market and industry you're in. And I think asking yourself that question is more about understanding your evolution and where you're going and who you're really serving and what you're really doing, instead of just, and we're avoiding stagnation by constantly doing this. You're never going to get stuck. You're going to always find another way to do business when you recognize what business you're actually in.
Yeah.
Right. At some point, you and I have talked about, we want to hire coaches to coach some of our programs and do that. So we will no longer be in the coaching business. We will be in the business that provides coaching for people. Right. So it will evolve over time. And I really think that's a pivotal question that needs to be asked for your own survival as a business.
Yeah.
and why we see all these people with start over businesses, because they need to not fully reinvent themselves, but understand what their direction is.
Yeah, they have to move with the momentum of the business. But even in the beginning, right? Even if you're not evolving and things aren't going your way, I think you have to look at why. And maybe you're thinking you're in one part of the business or one type of business, and you actually need to be in the other. Mm-hmm. So I think this comes right from the beginning and never stops. That's what I'm getting at this, is that it really never stops.
Yep.
And you have to, sometimes you got to let go of old mindsets and old habits and old ways of doing things and move on to it. And sometimes you got to hold on tight to those because that's the core of the business, but that's not the business you're in anymore. That's the byproduct of the new business you're in. So, all right, Tom, I think let's wrap it up there.
Yeah, let's leave it there, man. That was good. That was an interesting concept. I really enjoyed that.
Thinking out loud. We may have to do more of that.
Thinking out loud is very productive for a lot of people. A lot of people need to think out loud to figure out what they're doing.
All right, folks. See you next time.
Ciao.